Welcome to the first MNL Africa Leadership Circle Roundtable. My name is Kanessa and I am here with Faris and Mbula. And today they will be answering some questions, interesting questions that you need to know if you want to do business in Africa the proper way. Welcome.
Hey, Kanessa.
Hi, how are you?
Doing well.
So I have a question, the first question here for you. We are gathering leaders from over 20 countries in Nairobi this June. In short, why does a conversation about doing business in Africa need to happen right now? Faris, would you like to go first?
Absolutely, Kanessa. I think that's a fantastic question. Why does it have to happen now? Because Africa is happening now. It's the most exciting continent to conduct business in. That is why.
That is straight to the point. What do you think, Mbula?
I think definitely, as Faris said, this is the best time to do business in Africa. When you think of Africa's rapid demographic and digital growth, expanding market infrastructure, the time is really now. And we have a very young, eclectic population of very well-educated and exciting people. So the time is now.
Yeah, I do think, because people say Africa is the future, I do think Africa is now. I think we need to shift that wording to now. You know, according to statistics, Africa is the fastest growing continent at the moment. And I don't think people actually realize. So I do agree with you. But I do have a follow-up question, or the next question, I should say. You have engaged with Africa from different starting points. What is the one thing you wish you had known before doing business here in the continent? Mbula, I'll give the word to you.
I would say that Africa is not a single market. We are different countries with different sets of rules, laws, regulations, and of course, cultural nuances. So that's one thing that I feel like people need to know, appreciate, and actually factor in whenever they're coming into Africa.
That is true, honestly, because we talk about Africa as a whole, but we are so different at the same time. And not just the people, the culture, the language, the atmosphere, everything. What do you think, Faris?
Well, great points you guys are both making. I'll take it a step further. Being a diasporan, there is this assumption that just because you're from the continent, from a specific country, for my case, I'm from Chad, that because you're from that area, that all of a sudden going back and conducting business is just a straight line. That is a misconception. I'll say, do your due diligence, connect with the right person, understand the intricacies, right? In order to really be able to really fully invest in a business in Africa.
But I do think that's also because there's a lot of fear or trust issues from the diaspora angle, where people have a hard time, even the diaspora itself have a hard time taking that step. I think it's easier, not sure if that's fully true, but I think it's easier for a foreigner to invest in Africa than for a diaspora because of our background.
Absolutely, you're right on point, Kanessa. Being from Chad, I thought I'll go home and be able to that's my country, I'll go and be able to invest. Reality hit me really quick. I needed to really do my due diligence.
Do you experience that as a lawyer, Mbula? Like, do you see the difference between diaspora and complete foreigners?
Yes, it's like day and night. Yeah, diasporans come back home. Of course, I'm generalizing, it's a generalization. Most diasporans come back to invest in Africa with the idea that this is home. We're going back home. There is a lot of generalizations. There's a lot of expectations. So they don't take the time and the liberty to do a lot of due diligence. And they get messed up, For foreigners, they already know that we need to do due diligence. It's a new market for them entirely. They're not thinking, oh, this is going to be a relative helping me. They're already going to look for professionals from the word jump. And that's the main difference I see between diasporans and foreigners who are coming to invest in Africa.
Interesting. So my next question is about something you probably do not expect, but I want to jump to the future here. AI and stablecoins. They're both on the agenda for the event that we're hosting in June. Are these genuinely African opportunities? Or are we just watching global trends arrive on the continent? What is your honest opinion about this? Because it's a hot topic, yet double-edged sword. What do you think, Faris?
That's a great one. I would say it depends. It really depends on where in Africa, right? You have some mature economies in Africa that are really ready for it. In this case here, we're starting in Kenya, Nairobi. That's Silicon Savannah here for you guys. Kenya is ready for
that. Will fight you for that.
Yes, but I can tell you that Kenya... Mbula is like that.
experienced
Go ahead, Mbula.
during the fight. Yeah.
Go ahead.
No. You said Rwanda will fight Kenya for Silicon Savannah. Silicon Savannah is Kenya. Everyone knows Kenya is Silicon Savannah. There is no fight or debate. So don't actually accuse Rwanda falsely. They know what's up.
Rwanda, we're not in this, okay?
I can definitely get
Okay.
into
No, but
definitely
what do you
not get
think
into
about the
that.
future? Sorry. I
And Mbula,
think
you want to take that?
was
I
missed.
do think, it depends on the market, right? Mature markets like Kenya, Nigeria, and all of that, I think they're ready for it. In some cases, they're leading the way, to be honest with you, right? But I'll defer to Mbula here. Maybe she has a little bit more perspective for us.
Certainly. Thank you. Yeah, I think the question whether these are genuinely African opportunities or whether we're just watching global trends arrive on the continent, I would say it's both. These are global trends arriving with uniquely African use cases. Think of AI, in which AI can leapfrog gaps in healthcare, agriculture, education, local language services, whatever, just name any of these industries. While stablecoins will address costly cross-border remittance issues and also limited local foreign exchange infrastructure. So we're looking at success for both sectors, which will hinge on locally tailored solutions, reliable digital infrastructure, and very clear proportionate regulation. So the short answer to this question is it is both a global trend arriving on the continent, but it is also homegrown. So we can have it both ways, I would say.
But to keep it realistic, what about the dangers?
The dangers of what specifically?
The dangers of AI. I mean, is there enough education and knowledge to understand what blockchain is with the stable coins, or what AI could? I mean, sometimes even for us, it's hard to tell the difference between AI or authentic content. How will this play a role in the continent? Don't you think it's a concern?
It is a concern everywhere. The dangers of AI are not uniquely African or unique to the African demographic. We have AI content which is cutting across the whole divide, whether it's in Africa or outside of Africa. In terms, I could actually argue, maybe I'm very Pan-African for this one, but you could argue Africa has the youngest demographic if you're looking at it in comparison to all other continents. And the youngsters are the ones who actually are the earliest adopters of AI and developing technologies. So chances are Africa might be even better suited to handle AI than other countries or continents. However, when you look at it from the different perspective, different continents, it's a question of which country, because again, you can't talk about continent as a block. You have to look at the specific countries. There are countries that have invested a lot more on AI education, educating their masses. So it's really hard to generalize, or we would be, quite remiss to make, sweeping statements about AI or digital transformation as a whole, whether it's continent-wide or country-wide. You have to be very country-specific, look at it. But I think it's also a big opportunity for Africa because we have challenges and we have been said, which could be true, that we've lagged behind in terms of development. But when I look at technology and AI, I think it's an opportunity if we leverage it correctly and ethically to actually leapfrog and have great advancements. When you look at it from a point of Africa having being said to have behind many continents, the other continents rather, in terms of development, this is actually a great opportunity for us to catch up with the rest of the world and perhaps even surpass them. And especially, as I said, we have a younger demographic who are more inclined to be very early adopters of technology and digital transformation. It's now upon our governments and even the private sector to adopt AI, ensure that we have the right education for the masses, and we take advantage of this wave to, it can actually work in our favor.
Yeah, I do agree with that. So this is East Africa, right? Kenya is in East Africa. I'm from Ethiopia. Mbula is from Kenya. Our experience is mostly on the eastern side. What do you think? Chad being North Africa, it's considered North Africa if I'm not mistaken.
Central.
Central North, yeah. So how do you look at this? What do you think the opportunities are on that side of Africa?
I think the opportunities are there. You did ask a question regarding the risk. The risks are there as well. And to Mbula's point, I think the risk is not only limited to one country. I think it's universal. AI is still fairly new. The risks are there. I think it's those who are able to put some guardrails in ensuring the right education are in place, how ethically you use it, are the ones that are going to win in this AI journey. Now, specific to Chad and what we're doing, obviously, Chad is still, it's early, right? But we do have specific department in charge of AI. And what we're doing, going back to the younger population, that's the population that's mostly interested. So there is definitely value there. It's just ensuring how you properly use it. In a country like Chad, where you could easily use it the wrong way, you get in trouble, right? So it's very important to know what do you use AI for. what kind of value do you kind of bring in? So doing some education. So that department, I would think that they will focus mainly on ensuring that the vast population is aware of how do you use it and how much value you can bring using AI into the charging market.
Do you think that goes for blockchain as well?
I'll say yes, absolutely.
Okay, that is clear. So my next question, the June summit is producing a policy white paper on the ease of doing business in Africa, which is the best thing ever. If you could change one thing about the current environment, what would it be? One thing, I know it's hard, but let's limit it to one thing. So once you know the answer, feel free to answer. Mbula, let's go with you first.
I would say I would love to correct the fragmented policy and regulatory framework across Africa, such that if you're doing business in one part of Africa, we have a sense of harmonization of our laws and regulations or policies that help facilitate the expansion from one country into another within the continent. That's the one thing I would change, the fragmented policy and regulatory framework across Africa.
Do you think it's reachable, feasible, or doable?
I think it is. I don't say it's easy because it's not. However, we've seen success from other places. Think of the EU, for instance. It just takes goodwill, and we're able to have harmonization of regulations that enable proper or viable business environment across a continent. For instance, we can achieve this through blocks. I mean, I wouldn't say that we haven't tried. We have the East African Community, we have ECOWAS. We've tried, we've made our strides, but now it's going even a step further and thinking of it as a continent-wide thing. And again, remember we have the Africa Continental Free Trade Area agreement. So it's not that these things are not already happening. It's just a question of having the goodwill of the political class and also the private sector, the business people, and we work together as a whole to make it happen. Harmonization is possible. It's been done before. We can replicate and even go a step further for the better.
It's interesting that you say EU because EU is such a tiny market compared to the African market. Do you think EU is a good example?
I think EU is a good example. It's not just a question of size. If you've done it on small scale, you can do it on large scale. It's a question of just literally harmonizing policies across different countries. Remember, EU might be small in comparison to other areas, right? Or other continent blocks across the world. But if you can do something in small scale, you can also expand on it. We can draw lessons from them. What have they done right? How come they've been able to stay the course for this long period? We have East African Community. With it on, we have our own bottlenecks, but we are trying. So it's just a question of looking at what is actually already working and then amplify it. I don't think we are creating something from that has never been done. So that's why I made a reference to the EU. For their longevity, if nothing else. They've been there.
Fair enough. Faris, actually 2 questions for you. What do you think of what Mbula said, and what would you like to change?
Great. So I think Mbula nailed it, right? I think we're very fragmented, right? It's high time, and I think with the Africa Continental Free Trade that we really implement that. I think it's crucial. Today, if you look at the current geopolitical situation with the whole global supply chain shock, Africa heavily relies on product that comes from abroad. So all of a sudden, if we're able to all interconnect and support each other from the different, someone from Nigeria, with now Aliko Dangote with his refinery, right? You can source some of your petroleum materials product from there. So that makes it extremely easier. So absolutely, I think there are works that's being done already, but I think if we can really truly integrate that, I think it will make a big difference for us, right? So that we don't heavily rely on others. To your second question, what would I change? I would say ease to move around. Make it easy for us to travel with Africa. Traveling within Africa is, guys, it's the hardest. It's easier for me to travel from the US all the way to any part of Africa, be it Kenya or Ethiopia or Tanzania. But if I'm in Chad, I'm trying to go to any of those. Like literally, it's a 4-hour flight between N'Djamena, Chad to Addis Ababa. It's extremely challenging to get there, extremely expensive, right? So for us to take it to that, to make it easier for us to conduct business, being able to make it easier for us to travel within the continent, right, at a very competitive pricing, it will really unlock tremendous potential for really, really thriving in the African continent business.
If I may, I like your point, Faris. Makes a lot of sense. And this is something I've personally really endured for a long time, and I would love to see change in that sector. However, I feel like the ease of travel or transport is sort of a byproduct of doing business. Like it's a chicken and egg situation, don't you all feel? Where it's a lot easier for even airlines to channel routes if there is reason for people to go there.
Demand.
Yeah, like there's demand. You know, if we're already doing business across Kenya and Morocco, Kenya and Chad, Kenya and Ethiopia, there is reasons why we can have this route becoming more popular, you know? So I don't know who's the genius in the room to tell us which one should start, but I feel like they need to sort of happen concurrently.
Well,
Because
good thing Ethiopian is taking the cake here. Ethiopian Airlines is now spreading its wings literally to all the African countries. So from Addis, you could reach every African capital. I'm not saying it's the easiest or the smoothest, but since they don't have competition, there's no reason for them to even do better, although they are doing okay.
what do you mean they don't have competition?
They do have like Kenya, Uganda, South
The pride of Kenya
Africa.
Airways, the pride of Africa.
The pride, yes, sorry. Sorry for that. No, but Ethiopian is building a new airport right now to expand and become the biggest airport in Africa. So there is still, there is that movement, but investment in aviation is a thing on its own in the continent. The thing is, it's super expensive. But then again, Ethiopian doesn't have competition to that extent. Yes, we have Kenyan, Mbula, I know. But even with those two, the competition is still too low to lower the prices. So, I think there's a lot to improve there.
The reason I'm laughing is because this is a different conversation entirely, but it's rumored that Kenya Airways is actually more expensive, not rumored, So I think honestly, the pricing is also because of demand and supply situation. It's a complicated discussion, but it's not impossible to crack it, right? We just need the right in the room, people in that sector. I'm not from the aviation sector, so I'm not the best expert in this one, but I feel like the bottom line is that if there is will for us to do intra-continental, trade, that travel will catch up automatically. Yes, Faris, I can see you're burning with the point. Please go.
No, I was just saying, great point you were making, right? So I think it's a supply-demand thing, right? Which really drives what the price would look like. But beyond that, too, I think it's twofold. You also have to have some sort of partnership from the government. Because if you're already taxing high, right, those airline companies that will come in line into your country, that already puts them at a disadvantage. So all of a sudden now I have to increase my prices. So I think the government has some work to do in terms of regulation. How do you want to make it attractive enough that Ethiopian airline or Kenyan Airways, right? Ethiopian goes to chat, great, awesome, thank you, right? Kanessa, Kenya Airways, we're still waiting. But really, that to me, our government has to have a sense of responsibility whereby make it attractive enough that other airlines, and I think we're starting in chat, we're starting to do a better job there, where we're seeing more airline companies like Moroccan Airline, right? Algerian Airline, Egypt Airline, they're starting to come. And that's government starting to put together some regulation in places. And then again, absolutely. It's a supply and demand market, right? So the more supply you have, and I believe East Africa is doing a fantastic job. Being in East Africa as early as last year, I noticed that traveling from Tanzania to Kenya and Rwanda was easier and cheap also. And also you have that visa-free thing. When you get a visa, you can enter the super smooth. Now you take an example, Chad to Cameroon, neighboring country, a flight will cost you up to $600 or even more something. So we still have work to do. I do see that you guys have a step ahead, and I think that could be something that we can leverage. But their solutions are out there. It's a will, going back to what Mbula is saying.
Right. And for me, I know I was asked for just one single thing that I would change, but honestly, I cannot leave out language. I feel like language is one of the most important things. If we could just agree on one language as a continent, because there's a whole part of, think about it, we have the Francophone Africa, where it becomes super hard to even penetrate their market for the rest of the people who speak English. Again, it's a shame. These are not even our, local languages or whatever, but it is what it is. The world is caught up. So we as a continent also need to catch up from a language perspective. I'm not opening up.
But you can learn French. It's not that hard, I guess. And French can learn English.
Exactly. The whole
Faris, take the wheel here. You could speak
Listen,
both, right?
in the spirit of business here, if you're talking about it, right? What language are we talking about here? Swahili, Amharic, French, Arabic, right? But I think
French English will bring you far in the continent.
Today, the reality is, if you look at the global language, it's been English, right? But if we want to operate in Africa, what is it? I think it's very important. To Mbula's point, I think the Francophone part of Africa, even global corporations, still struggle with that market because of just language barrier. Tremendous opportunities that exist there, but guess what? You're not taking full advantage of it just because you don't understand that market fully because of that language barrier. So that's an opportunity there. But really, I think we have to look at it holistically and figure out, is there a language, right, that ultimately makes it easier for all African countries to conduct business? What language is that? Is that English? Is that because it's in Africa, it's so much diverse, right?
Two languages, French and English. We could add Arabic to it for the northern part, but even they speak French. So I think French and English will bring you far in the continent.
That's agreeable. Yeah. No, I agree with you. Like being bilingual will definitely unlock, because it's one thing to just like enter the market just because the official language is, say, French or English, but it's a different concept altogether to penetrate and understand the cultural nuances, like really reach the people. Because at the end of the day, it's do we want to do business together or not? You know, do I feel understood and seen by you? It's complicated, but as I keep saying, it could always be cracked. It's not.
I think we could teach the next generation French and English as a
and
basic.
Swahili is
Swahili.
So I feel like it's also good to have a homegrown language. So maybe having a trilingual next generation would be where Africa really wins.
I think so. Yeah. So your home country, the own language, basically, in our case, it's Amharic, and the French and the English. I think that will bring you far anywhere. Actually, not just in Africa.
I know, that's right.
Well, great conversation. I have one last question, and that's regarding the event. Villa Rosa Kapinski. Is that how you pronounce it? I've been reading it my whole life and never said it out loud.
Kempinski, yeah.
Villa Rosa Kapinski, Nairobi, June 18th until the 20th. Who needs to be in that room, and what will they leave with?
Yeah, so who needs to be in the room? I would say think of African finance ministers, central bank governors, heads of major African regional institutions such as African Continental Free Trade Agreement Secretariat, the AU as a body, regional development banks. Would like to have CEOs of African fintechs and telcos, as well as energy firms actually represented here. We're also looking at global banks who are looking to expand into Africa, or at least to support development in Africa. Think of venture capital, private equity funds, as well as institutional assets managers. Tech founders, this is a place for you to be. AI researchers, or even founders within the AI space, absolutely, this is our time to shine. So think of representatives of major stablecoin crypto firms, payment networks, payment companies, regulators, and policymakers from key partner countries as well. This is a place for you to be. I'm looking for all the people who are looking to do business with Africa in Africa. Yes, that would be my inconclusive list, because we can go on and on, but we're looking for visionaries and people who love the continent and the ones who see that this is really the time for Africa and to be in Africa. Do you have any to add?
Is there anything to add, Faris, or did she just?
I think she said it all. I think she covered it all beautifully. If I was to add anything, it would be, and I'm offended she left it out, diaspora entrepreneurs and those who aspire to go back and conduct business in Africa, you need to be there. That's a golden opportunity, and we highly encourage it.
Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. Thank you for that addition. And if you think about it, I technically did not leave diasporans out. I mentioned investors.
Gotta spell it out sometimes. We like it when it's spelled out. We like it when it's spelled out.
Absolutely. I stand guided. Thank you. But yes, absolutely. Diasporans, it's time for us to invest back home, and we are happy to be here.
Yeah, because I do think we deserve a separate mentioning, because diasporas, don't underestimate our value and our power over the people in Africa. Okay, we are one of the most influential people to the African community. Whatever your sister or cousin or whoever is out there doing must be better simply because they've lived a different life. And now we're returning, so that's inspirational. So you should have said that first, Mbula.
Are they gonna crucify me for not saying diasporans?
Maybe.
Oh.
And I would understand if they did, but don't worry. Yeah, we got you.
Thank you for forgetting me.
So I do think anybody who wants to invest or do business in Africa should be there June 18th, 19th, and the 20th in Nairobi, Villa Rosa Kapinski. Be there, be square, and learn. I mean, whoever is coming is leaving with more connections, more knowledge, more information, and that's all you need, because connections is everything on the continent, everything. So good start.
Absolutely. And clear pathways on on how to get things done. Like many will ask, where can I get started? So we're not going to be talking about theory. We are an eclectic group of amazing people, if I may say so myself. I'm so honored to be associated with all of you. And we have clear solutions because this is not theoretical. We are on the continent already. We are investing in the continent. We are enablers of the ecosystem of investing in Africa. And what I love is that so far, if the confirmations are anything to go by, we will have such a dynamic power room at Kempinski from this 18th, 19th, and the 20th. I have people coming from North Africa, West Africa, East Africa, Central Africa, South Africa, Europe, America, the Americas. I was so amused to see people coming from registering from Latin America. I'm like, wait, what? Yeah, of course, the Middle East. I'm praying that we're going to have a semblance of peace in that area, so that at least movement can be a lot easier for all our lovely guests who are coming in June to be in Nairobi. So we're looking forward to hosting you, and it will be amazing. Can't wait.
So join the circle, and that's why we called it the African Leadership Circle, because it's a community, not just a one-time event. So yeah, I would invite everybody to be part of it, one way or the other.
Absolutely.
Anything
Absolutely.
else like to share, Faris? Or
Nothing else. You guys said it all beautifully. Hey, listen, I cannot wait. Super excited. Of course, doing it with you. Those who have never been to Kenya, Nairobi, that's going to be a cultural immersion. One of the most vibrant, exciting city. We invite you. We can't wait to see you June 18th to the 20th. Let's go.
Let's go. I think there's only one thing to add, that on the 20th, we will have an amazing networking, high-level safari. And the reason I'm highlighting this is because Nairobi is the only city in the world that has a national park in that city. So we want to give you something very uniquely in Nairobi, and not just for no other reason, but to kind of experience the amazing Big Five that we have there. The environment is beautiful. It's very beautiful, scenic, and all of that. And you will be doing it amongst friends, because you will have made friends. You will be doing this with amazing potential collaborators, investors in your own project. So that will be really amazing and out of this world. I so look forward to that. Thanks.
Thank you so much, both of you. And I cannot wait to see everybody at the event. Thank you for listening. Thank you for participating. And if you want to attend, check out the website, mnlafrica.com. You can attend as a guest, but also become a sponsor, so you can actually be part of this event. If you're interested, feel free to reach out. For now, I want to thank you. Thank Faris, thank Mbula, and you will see us at the event as well. So
There.
next time.
Thank you.
Thank you.